Imagine moving back to your childhood hometown, the place of your worst nightmares. You think you're returning to heal. But what if the nightmare was the home all along? That's exactly the chill I felt watching the pilot of IT Welcome to Derry. I kept asking myself, what if the clown isn't the monster? What if the town is? Let's be blunt. From its very first terrifying minute, this show dared us to believe no one is safe. We've seen the movies. We know the rules. But episode 1, it flung the rule, book out the window and said, expect the unexpected. And yes, I'll say it, the ending might be one of the most brutally effective horror twists of the year. The kind of twist that makes you rewind even though you're terrified of what you'll see again. You're going to want to stick around, because beneath the gore and the red balloon lies forbidden knowledge, hidden book, Easter eggs, twisted origins of Pennywise, and a Cold War era fear that you didn't even know you were carrying. Oh, and if you haven't yet, subscribe to Breakdown by Jones, because we're going deep and we're doing it together. Here's what's haunting. We all walk into shows like this expecting survival. We root for kids in horror because we need someone to beat the monster. But this episode shows us the opposite. The stakes are raised before the kids even get a fair chance. EW comes 2 times to Matty Clements disappears. His friends scramble, we hold on to hope. Then the massacre at the Capitol Theatre hits. Teddy, Phil, Susie, gone. Just like that. The show doesn't build to safety, it builds to shock. Time eep 1, so the question becomes, how do you fight something when the rules are rigged and you didn't even know you were playing a game? And that, my friends, is the pain point. Because this isn't just horror, it's betrayal. The town you trust is the trap. Here's the secret the marketing didn't warn you about. The clown we know is not the villain in the obvious form yet. The entity stalking Derry in episode 1 takes shape in a baby monster. Yes, a grotesque, winged baby version of Pennywise that bursts forth from the movie screen. EW1, and here's the book, Nerd Delight. This sequence isn't just shock for shock's sake. It ties directly to the interludes from the novel, those eerie glimpses of the cycles of evil in Derry's history, and the series uses them as its blueprint. Matty's disappearance, the movie theater's distortion of reality, the horrible revelation, all of it is a map of how Derry's horror works. And this map says the horror precedes the witness. In other words, you don't discover the evil discovers you. I'll admit, I paused the scene where the baby monster flies out of the screen and screamed like I locked myself in the closet at night. True story. But here's me analyzing the costume design and blinking at the red balloon because yes, I'm that kind of horror fan. And what I realized was the balloon isn't just a prop, it's a punctuation mark, the period at the end of a terrible sentence, okay? Quick question for you: when you first watched that baby monster burst out of the screen, did you 1 freeze in horror, 2 rewind to check if you imagined it, 3 laugh because you thought it was a weird CGI glitch? Drop your answer in the comments. I'll pick the funniest reactions for the next video. And go ahead, if you spotted any hidden Easter egg, yes, there are plenty, share them. Who else noticed the drain scene and thought of the novel's sewer mess? If you're familiar with the book, you'll remember the black spot. Interlude, the club that burned, prejudice that erupted, and Pennywise's cycles of awakening. The show nods to that in the pilot. It's not just setting, it's history repeating one. Remember that here told detail from the trailer, the Bert the Turtle says duck and cover, sign Cold War era, nuclear fear, radiation, all part of the building dread. And this season places the action in 1962, perfect timing for those nightmares. Here's the loop we're going to ride through the next 20 minutes of breakdown. We'll explore the origin of the monster, the hidden psychology of the kids, the town of Derry as villain, and those Pennywise book scare drops that you'll want to meme before you sleep. Because if episode 1 is any indicator, the rest of the season won't wait politely for us to catch up. It will drag us. Let's start with that sentence that everyone keeps quoting online. Anywhere but Derry. On the surface, it's just a cry for escape. But listen again, it's whispered like a prayer. The showrunners are telling us something important. In Derry, there is no anywhere. Every road circles back. Every escape route ends in fog. That's why Matty's bicycle scene mirrors Georgie's in the original IT. He thinks he's leaving the danger behind until he realizes he's been pedaling in a perfect loop. It's a literal representation of how trauma recycles itself when you never confront it. Now, let's talk about that projection, booth sequence. The moment that turned a simple theater into a portal. The film reel spins, light floods the screen, and the image melts into liquid silver. What are we seeing? A dimensional tear. Book readers know this motif, the macroverse, King's cosmic background for Pennywise. The show doesn't name it, but the clues are blatant. The turtle poster, the spiral light pattern, the echoing heartbeat beneath the projector's hum. That's not electricity, that's a pulse. The episode isn't saying Pennywise is born there, it's saying that's where the world first looks back. Let's rapid fire a fuse, the red balloon in the reflection of the theater door, the first time we've ever seen it float backward. That's a nod to King's short story The Jaunt, another experiment in warp time. Georgie's yellow slicker appears on a clothing store mannequin, one frame only. Pause at 41 and 22. Ben Hanscom's initials, carved into the rail outside the school long before he's even born. Time again, folding in on itself. And that song on the jukebox, I don't care if the sun don't shine. That's the same record playing in IT Chapter 2 when the losers return. The series is quietly knitting timelines together. Every monster in Welcome to Derry so far reflects an emotion. Guilt, envy, denial. Matty's mother sees a figure made of smoke and mirrors, her grief taking shape. The janitor in episode 1 mutters, "It's not hunger, it's memory." That's the thesis of the whole series. Pennywise doesn't feed on flesh, he feeds on remembrance. That's why the baby monster bursts from a movie screen. The act of watching is what resurrects him. Every viewer, us included, revives the evil just by paying attention. So let's test your instincts. When the camera zooms into the theater's broken EXITE sign, do you think we're still in the real world? 1, yes, symbolic, not literal. 2, no, we crossed into Pennywise's mind. 3, both, the real world is his mind. Comment your pick. I'll feature a few in the next episode and see whose theory matches what the writers confirm. I'll be honest, halfway through my second rewatch, I started keeping count of balloons. I got to 7 before my cat popped one. I jumped harder than the actors did. So yeah, if HBO ever wants authenticity, they can cast me as Guy Who D's of Startle. The power of Welcome to Derry isn't in the jump scares, it's in its quiet ones. Matty's mother staring at the drain, the empty swing set still creaking at dawn. That line from the police officer, "The town forgets fast, the ground doesn't." That's Stephen King distilled to its core, evil as infrastructure. And episode 1 plants the seed. Every horror that will unfold in this prequel is rooted in the everyday cruelty people choose to ignore. So here's your challenge, Derry watchers. What do you think the real origin of Pennywise is? Cosmic parasite, ancient deity, or something simpler, the town's collective sin made flesh? Tell me below, and while you're there, tap that subscribe button if you want to walk this sewer of symbolism with me every week. I promise I'll bring the flashlight. Next breakdown, episode 2, we'll decode the graffiti under the bridge, the hidden turtle motif, and that whispering voice behind the static that sounds an awful lot like Bill Skarsgård. Until then, keep your eyes on the drains, your heart rate steady, and remember, Derry never forgets. It only waits. I'm Jones, and this was your Welcome to Derry episode 1 breakdown. Stay brave, stay curious, and if you see a red balloon, don't look up.